Do I look like shit?
Um, no.
All right.
Mega Dads Live is a mature rated podcast. It's for the Mega Dads, the Mega Moms, but not the Mega Kids. So put on those earmuffs and let's go!
Oh, I just got up from a nap. I couldn't handle anymore. Time.
Wait. It's 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, my daughter couldn't contain her excitement. She got up at like 6:15, an hour and a half early, and we just hit the ground running, like with this birthday thing.
Uh-huh.
And we gave her a cupcake when she woke up.
Oh,
she
man.
Scarfed that. She was like crying. She's like, I'm so happy it's my birthday. Like we just took her out. Like it was a big thing. We took her to a pet store. The initial plan was to take her to just pet a bunny.
Oh God.
So it's like, here.
What'd you bring home?
Like that was the thing. So guess what the going rate is for a hedgehog? A hedgehog.
Going rate for a hedgehog has got to be like 75.
185.
Damn.
For a hedgehog. And they give you like $25 off if you buy a cage, which is like, am I leaving in with this hedgehog in my pocket?
Right.
Like, I don't understand. So, and plus, like, they're charging an arm and a leg for a hedgehog, and I could see the next hedgehog being made in the corner of the cage.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, they're pumping a new one out. Like, it's a self-fulfilling supply of hedgehogs going on in this little hedgehog cage they have.
No supply chain issues at the pet store.
No. It was odd. We walked in and the guy was like, "Welcome to the zoo. Let me know if you need a hand with anything." I'm like, "The zoo?" It had the most exotic animals. There was a tortoise, like the size of like a football pizza. If you ever seen one of those, just like a gigantic tortoise in there. And there was like bearded dragons. There was like ball python, like cobras.
This wasn't
all sorts of stuff.
This wasn't like PetSmart. Like this sounds like some black market shit.
No, this was like an independent little pet shop that my like wife found, and it just had some stuff in there they probably shouldn't have had.
Right.
It was wild. Like there was a chameleon that was like changing colors and like all sorts of weirdness. It was wild. I'm like, this place does not have a license. So it was fun.
So did you buy the hedgehog?
Running around all day. Oh no, I don't have that. I don't have hedgehog money. Are you kidding me?
You actually went to the pet store and left without a pet.
I had to. Like in this economy. Like, thanks, Obama.
That's why
I couldn't. I don't have hedgehog money.
That's why you don't go to the pet store. Like you go to the zoo,
Yeah.
You go to the actual zoo, and then there's no risk of buying or being pressured to buy a $75 hedgehog, $180 hedgehog.
It's wild. And then the cage is $100 minimum with nothing in it. It's like, do you want this sad little like duplex, or do you want like this like mini mansion for this hedgehog that's gonna cost like $500? it's Have you had any exotic pets, or do you wish that you could do an exotic pet? I had a cousin who had a ferret, and the ferret kind of like it. I don't know if it had a cage, but it was never in it, and it made holes in the walls, like so it would go into a hole that was near the floorboards, and like crawl into the house walls and then make a hole somewhere else.
What?
So it would live inside the walls of the house. And they had the ferret for like quite a while before I'm sure it was lost or something like that. and they got rid of it, probably at their dad's order. But it was
Sure
it was
didn't
a
this
ferret
die in the
wild in the
walls?
house. No, it was really slippery. It was very much at home in its habitat of the house walls and just like in the drywall and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool to like see the ferret like pop out and stuff. I couldn't do something like that. Like my aunt had a huge snake, like a gibungus one that had like the huge cage in the living room, which was like too big for the living room, and it was just, it didn't move very much. I never saw it like do anything because it was always like napping or whatever
Right.
they do under the heat lamp. But like I don't think I could do something like that. Every now and then you hear about like the exotic animal like mishaps, right? Like we've had dogs and then that's pretty much it.
Right.
Have you ever had anything more exotic of a pet, or would you if you could?
Growing up, we had way too many animals. Like it was unnatural the amount. We had cats, we had dogs, we had mice, we had gerbils, we had rabbits at one point. Like it was clearly filling a hole in my mother's life that we left because she didn't love us enough. So like we've had a lot of animals to the point where as an adult, I didn't want to have any more pets. And now we have the 3 turtles. I told you the story of the turtle, right?
Oh, you have the turtles then. Okay. I must have forgot about the turtles. No, what's the turtles?
Did I tell you the story about we had 4 and now we have 3?
Uh-oh.
I didn't tell you this story.
This is a bad story.
This is a
Adam.
bad story. Okay. I can't believe I cannot believe I've never told this story before.
Now you have 3.
All right.
That's bad math.
Okay, here's the story of what happened to our 4th turtle. We had 4 turtles, which is, ideal. Like if you're going to have turtles, you want 4 Ninja Turtles, right?
Okay.
And I get up, I go to work very early in the morning, and I get up and I'm going down to get my stuff, and I step on something, and
oh my God,
I'm like,
Adam.
oh, it's
Adam.
I think the cat shit on the carpet, and my
God.
son was up at this hour because he likes to get up and say goodbye to me often, and so I'm like, I'm pretty sure the cat shit. Well, no, what is this, like a wood chip? And I reach down, I pick it up. No, I stepped on a turtle.
Adam, you killed your turtle?
Hold on. Story's not over yet. So, first thing I do is I drop it and I go, because like I fucking stepped on a turtle. Felt this thing crunch, right?
Oh my God.
And so I'm like, oh my God. So I picked it up again. It's clear this thing is toast. Like there's no coming back for this turtle. I run downstairs to where the turtle tank is, and the lid of the tank is off.
It got up the stairs?
The cats
oh my
pulled
God.
the lid off the turtle tank and pulled this turtle out. And we're probably running around with it all night, and they left it there on the landing. I don't know. It could have been dead before I got to it because the cats had got to it. I don't know. But then I'm like, well, let's make sure the other turtles are in there. We count 2 turtles in the tank. So
oh my
there's
God.
1 that I crunched under my shoe, and there's 2 in the tank, which means there's 1 turtle somewhere in the house. And so I'm like yelling at my son. I'm like, go get your mom. Go wake up. He's crying because the turtle's dead. I'm like, go get your mother. She comes down. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, the cats fucking raided the turtle tank. And
they
one
kidnapped
is missing.
the turtles.
Yeah, and I'm like, and one's missing, and I've got to go to work. So good luck with that. And I had to leave because I was
You left? You bailed?
I was already late.
You killed the turtle and you bailed?
I murdered.
Oh
it was
my
a hit
God.
and run. I killed the turtle and I had to go to work. They did eventually find the other turtle behind the entertainment center. So now we're down to 3. And the moral of the story is I'm fine with the pets that we have.
Are cats known to kidnap turtles and like?
Well, cats
Like-
like to. They like to. They're young cats. They like to find things and pick them up in their mouths and run around. And they watch these turtles swimming around in the tank, and they saw their opportunity. They got in there and yeah, they assassinated.
Wow.
They assassinated turtle.
I want, man, I wonder if they were conniving enough where they're just like, I know he comes through here in the morning.
There's a plan.
So let's take the turtle. Yeah, and like landmine this turtle right here at that time. And they just like watched it go down. That's so sinister.
Yeah.
Like that is wild.
It's typical cat though, isn't it?
I don't know. I've never had cats. I've only had dogs because, I mean, Adam, come on, look at what's going on here.
Yeah.
That's
They're
wild.
devious.
So how heavy does this death sit on your conscience that you crushed? Well, you may not have crushed them. They could have.
Well, I
killed
definitely
them.
crushed it, but it might have already been dead. And that's the only way I can sleep at night is to think that while they set me up. They set me up.
Mhm.
Let's put the body there. He'll think he did it.
Right.
Be none the wiser.
They could make a whole Netflix special off of this. I've watched so many true crime things. Man. This would be an amazing story. Wow.
This would be a great Dateline.
Mega Dad's being super positive.
We need to wash the taste out of our mouths of this horrible
Palate
turtle
cleanser,
murder.
please.
With our super
Wow.
positives, Antonio, what's bringing you joy in your life?
My little girl is 4 years old as of today.
Yay!
And I couldn't be happier. She's so cute. She's like all day she's been singing "Happy Birthday to me, Happy Birthday to me," like just like all day long, and she deserves it. She's so cute. 4 years old. The years are just flying by. She's really coming into her own. She's incredibly smart, and it's just great, seeing her grow up, be happy, and do what kids do. It's awesome. She's actually playing more video games and being more has more dexterity, I should say, like with the controller and like
Getting the hang of it.
performing moves. Yeah, like we're gonna talk about it later, I think, on Mega Dads, but we have her playing Bluey and Mario Kart and different things, and she's holding her own now. She knows how to do things in the games, so I'm very proud of her, and she's taking to the hobby. So
That Mario
it's good.
Kart is like such a great introduction game for kids because they put that auto steer and that auto acceleration.
Absolutely.
It is like that's
Yeah.
like the ultimate training wheels game for a kid. It's great. Wow.
She loves it. Yeah.
Are you
Super positive. Kids growing up.
man? It's hard to believe that she's only because to me on the outside looking in, I feel like you've been a dad forever because that's like my window in the world. She's only 4.
Yeah.
You feel like it's going by super fast, huh?
Mhm.
It always does. It always does.
It's weird. It's like part of it feels like she's always been here, and then part of it is just like you were just born yesterday. I remember, and it's just wild the way that time works.
Yep.
I haven't figured it out yet. Just take a million pictures and enjoy the moments as well. So
Used to that.
I don't know, but
get used to that for the rest of your life.
she'll be paying taxes soon. So
Oh, yay! My super positive. Oh boy, what do I want to do for my super positive? I'm excited because last month when we recorded, we started talking about we talked about dream jobs, right? And you really got me thinking because my dream job that I came up with was I always wanted to be like a live musician, a songwriter, a singer-songwriter. And for the first time in probably like 8 years, I've actually sat down and started recording and writing songs again. Very slowly because there's not as much time, but like last year we got electric piano. And so I've been sitting at the piano writing songs, and I've been going into the garage band, and I've been putting drum tracks and bass, and I've been taking my guitars off the wall, and like I'm actually making myself go through and get back into it. And it's interesting because it's like it's a muscle that you kind of have to flex. It feels a little unnatural at first, but once you get back in the swing of things, like they're starting to come back, and that's a great feeling because that's something that I used to do a lot in my 30s, in my early 30s, and so to be able to actually still do that and I feel like you still kind of have it, it's great. So I'm enjoying that, and I've been playing the songs for my wife and my kids, getting their opinions and their impressions, because that's something I've never had before. Is like, I've never had somebody to bounce these off of before. It's always just been kind of like a solo endeavor for me. So introducing some more music into my life, and I've been having a great time with that. But I think we should talk about some games, man. It's we've been playing a lot of games here at Megadads, and I want to talk about something that I've been looking forward to. I got a code for this game. I played all the way through it, so I've got a lot of thoughts. We're going to start talking about Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden is developed by DONTNOD, published by Focus Entertainment, and it's available now on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Now, this game comes from DONTNOD, which is one of they've developed some of my favorite games. They are the creators of the Life is Strange franchise, which those first two games have a very special place in my heart. I love those games to death. And this is a completely different kind of game. It does have a little DNA with from Life is Strange, in the fact that you make a lot of choices throughout the course of the game that will affect your relationships and ultimately your ending rollout. So this is a game that has multiple endings. And the premise of it is it takes place in old world America, it's Maryland, I believe. And you are a European duo of banishers who are basically exorcists. You are hired to deal with supernatural happenings for hire, and you are brought across the ocean to this Maryland town, which is the town of New Eden, because there is a horrible haunting happening in this realm, and one of your old friends beckons you to come and help him. The duo of banishers is a man named Red, who is a pupil to Antea. Antea is the head banisher, and not only are you a duo, a team, but you're actually in a relationship. You're lovers. So Red is her understudy, and she is the head banisher, and they are there to relieve the haunting on this town. And I'm going to spoil a little bit because it's kind of the premise of the entire game, and it's shown in all the trailers. It's really the premise of the game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That Antea ends up dying in the opening act of this game. And you end up playing through the entire game as Red, with Antea's spirit at your side, both trying to expunge the evil phantoms in this New Eden, while also making your way back to her body so that you can either ascend her to the afterlife or resurrect her. So this is where the majority of your decision making lies, because at the onset of your adventure, she comes to you as the ghost, and you realize that you have these two chances. You can either, do the right thing as banishers. Your job is to push the spirits into the off-world. It's life for the living and death for the dead is the mantra of this game. Or you can sacrifice people like a fucking vampire, steal their life force energy, and resurrect her at the end. Now,
holy shit.
Now, obviously, one of those options sounds really evil, and that's kind of presented that way. It's a light path and a dark path, but the game really muddies the waters in the fact that they present this relationship in a really great way. The voice acting and the storytelling and the character building makes you feel attached to this couple. And you don't want her to be dead. You don't want her to go away. They talk a lot about grief and what am I going to do after you're gone? Red keeps saying, how am I going to go on without you? And you play this game. It's like an open world God of War-esque action adventure title. And each chapter has a series of hauntings, smaller side quests. And at the end of each of these hauntings, after you investigate what's going on, where's the spirit, what's its tie to this world, you have a choice at the end of each of these hauntings to either banish the spirit to hell, ascend it to heaven, or sacrifice the person who is being haunted and steal their life force energy. And each of these hauntings, the characters, some of them are good people, some of them are really nasty people. Some of the spirits are good, some of the spirits are evil. So there's no it's not an easy choice to take the good path or the evil path. Because sometimes you're like, this fucker, I could absolutely sacrifice this dude and steal some life force, and I wouldn't feel bad about it at all. But it does diverge, and eventually your choices will end up with one of, I believe, 4 different endings is what the game ends up at. So it's a really interesting moral story with great characters. It's a brand new franchise. It feels, thematically and story-wise, it feels very original and very unique. The gameplay is very much like I said, in the vein of of God of War or an open world Tomb Raider game, where your main character Red has a series of attacks and a skill tree that he can level up. And the way that it feels a lot like God of War is your combat uses Antea and her spirit. So she's kind of like your Atreus, where your combos and your attack patterns utilize the spirit, and you can kind of bounce back and forth between which one you're controlling and which one comes in to do like a combo, and they have their own skill trees and stuff like that. So it feels very familiar if you are a fan of that series. And they also use Antea's spirit abilities in world navigation. So you'll be at a lot of puzzles where you'll have to cross over into the spirit realm to proceed. So it does a good job of kind of utilizing both characters, and they both have unique attributes and character properties, because obviously one's living and one's dead. The story is kind of a slow burn and melancholy tale. It's one thing that I feel is, as great as the storytelling and the characters are in this game, it is very level and even keel, and kind of feels oppressive the whole time. So it's a very sad story. And the performances don't have a lot of range, because the story is so dark and depressing and sad that's kind of the performance and delivery you get throughout. So as great as it is in the voice acting department, there's not a lot of range to where this tale goes. So expect to play something that's kind of slow paced and deliberate. It's got some good action. The graphics are really good. Some really cool boss fights. The spirits are I should talk about the combat a little bit. The ghosts are very non-traditional. In Banishers, the way to dispatch a ghost is to kick its ass, because the ghosts are very physical. So you are literally going to be punching and shooting and axing ghosts, which is, the rules of this world are kind of weird. You wouldn't think that's how a ghost would work. You expect a ghost to be ethereal and you kind of pass through, but they're very physical in nature. They'll do this cool thing where you'll see a ghost going towards a corpse, and if it gets to the corpse, it'll actually possess it. And what that does is it basically enhances its strength and its defense. And so you'll have to beat the shit out of this corpse, and then the ghost will get smacked out of the body, and then you got to go beat the shit out of the ghost. So I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's interesting the way that this game approaches the afterlife. It very much has its own unique take on what ghosts are and how to deal with them. But I don't know. It's an interesting game. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm typically not a guy that likes the idea of multiple endings in a game, because I'm the kind of person who feels like, well, what didn't I see, right? And like,
Yeah.
I want my ending to be canon. And with this game, it's very much no happy endings kind of a thing, you know, and you really get that in the tone and the story that they deliver. That whatever path you're taking, ultimately there's going to be some sadness there, and that's kind of what this game delivers. So it's an interesting narrative tale. I would recommend it to folks who like that third-person action adventure formula. And this game has something unique and different with that old world skin and the supernatural aspect. So it's pretty dang good. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
So this game has such an interesting premise. Like it feels very fresh. I have heard a lot of good word of mouth about it. I do feel like it might be getting lost in the mix of a very crowded early 2024. I
Absolutely
love the trailer for this. Like the first time that I saw it, I was like, oh, that's going to be great. And I didn't know that this game was out until you just mentioned it. It has a generally favorable score of 78 on Metacritic right now for PS5. So I feel like surprisingly, it may not break through the noise of just a crowded year. I feel like I want and need to play this because the impactful story mixed with the great premise and all that, it just seems like it would be my kind of game. So quality wise, because of the action being, not traditionally something that this studio has done, you would say that it is passable or, even
it's
better than expected on the action
really
side?
It really feels like they did their homework, and it's very inspired by God of War. Like, it has that weight to it. The combat is very much the same, where you've got your light attacks and your heavy attacks on your shoulder buttons. Hold down the left trigger for your rifle shot. You switch back and forth between the characters. It's all very responsive and adequate. I would say that it's a very strong AA title, and it reminds me a lot of the Plague Tale games, where like this is not a first party AAA studio, but it is a AA studio that is really swinging for the fences, and they hit a lot of what they're going for. There are some technical hiccups. I had some sound bugs. The music in this game is very sparse, which is really strange. Like, there are long sections of the game where there's just like no music at all, just ambient sounds, which is not something that typically stands out, like the absence of something. But in this kind of game that really feels like it's striving for that AAA feel, like I felt myself like longing for a better soundtrack. The other thing that I want to say real quick before we move on from this game is we need to cool it with the subtitles in video game titles. In video game, like Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. It's very strange, especially for this one, for a brand new IP, the first installment. What's with the subtitle? It feels like it should be a sequel or something. And I noticed that a lot in video games, is the excessively long titles. And this game should have just been called Banishers, and I think that would have been just fine.
So I've been playing Persona 3 Reload. Surprisingly, it's available via Game Pass, which is perfect for me because I love Persona. I love, Atlas and the stuff that they're putting out. Big Persona 5 fan. And Persona 3, I had originally tried. I think I may have emulated it or something like that. I mean, it couldn't be me, but I had played one of the previous versions of this game. This is a complete remake where they took the graphics and completely overhauled them. redid the voiceover, a lot of the music and all that is just completely done for modern hardware, and it shows. Absolute beautiful trademark Persona gameplay with style and flash oozing and dripping from this one. I know you're a big fan of Persona 5. This game is fantastic. It has that in the daytime, you're just, a student living their life, trying to establish relationships, go to class, level up your stats during the day, and then you go into this like tower labyrinth dungeon at night and try to battle monsters, summon your Pokemon like persona, and just unleash magic attacks and very flashy skills. And it's just that sweet persona mix. I immediately went in asking myself the question, after playing Persona 5, is Persona 3 Reload gonna do it for me? It has roots in a much, older title. Could this be, my jam? And it just absolutely is. Like, the menus, the music, all the little subtle details are just so well done. And I need you to play this game. You never finished Persona 5, right, Adam?
Persona 5.
I didn't finish Persona 5.
Yeah, Persona 5 is one of those games where it's like, in my brain, I'm always like, I want to go back.
Yeah.
Because I loved my time with it, but it's so huge and daunting. What is the difference? So I've only ever played Persona 5 out of the entire franchise. So is this like a Final Fantasy situation where each game exists independently? Is there any through line in the franchise? How does that work?
Megami Tensei is actually like the original like name of the franchise, and then it branches off from this very dark, you summon like personas and battle and like RPG style, which spun off into Persona, which really took it into this half you're kind of a youth in their school age, like with a real life that you balance along with your kind of crime fighting, like supernatural fighting with Persona's other side. So where you have like Shin Megami Tensei and all of this stuff going on in the main line, and then you have the personas. So as soon as you get into that, okay, this is like half relationship sim and things like that, that's where you have the Persona series. So they always have the same themes, like personas are in them, where one way or another you're summoning these creatures that are your kind of like an inner like power and alter ego that break out and are able to help you fight in these like supernatural realms. So in Persona 3 Reload, you have your school life, your high school, I think it's high school, yeah. You're a high school student, and you are newly thrust into a school, like I think you are in 5, and you are befriending people that are also caught up with this power to fight back against the forces of evil, and you happen to band together, and they're already in the mix fighting people, because 1 hour a night everything in the world just changes, and these monsters are able to wreak havoc on people and turn them into like zombies. And there's a specific area where you can go that is it's a staircase that leads up to multiple floors of a labyrinth that you just fight through, and there's monsters in there, and they're like, we have to discover what's inside the Tartarus, which is what they call this big labyrinth, and you have to keep going up the floors. This was originally a remake of Persona 3, which was also, they did another version that was played on the handheld, and it's really built around this very short play through, like pick up and play and then put it down. styles. You could do a couple floors of the dungeons and just stop and then save, and it's very forgiving. There's a lot of good quality of life in this game, like the fast travel in the overworld when you're going to school and visiting like different areas of the city and visiting shops. You can fast travel there quite quickly from like the menus, which in Persona 5 you actually had to like go and you unlock fast travel later. You could like ride the subway and like it was a little more involved. This one really wants you to go there. It's like, oh, do you want to just go to that place right now? And it lets you shoot there. Do you want to spend the day, building a relationship with this friend that you made at school, and then unlock like stats that you can use in the actual fighting aspects of the game. So it's very much like Persona 5. It's just like a little more bite size, a little bit more quality of life there. But it's fantastic. The music, the menus and everything like that, it just screams Persona 5 to me, which is why I'm like really falling in love with it. And because I can play on Game Pass, I could play from my Steam Deck while streaming Xbox game streaming xCloud to it. I can pick up and play on my Series X and get the full like graphic experience. And it's just like it's an amazing game. If you know Persona at all, you kind of know what you're getting into. There's really no surprises. It's just more Persona. So if you're a fan, I highly recommend playing.
Obviously you haven't finished this one through, but does it feel like this one is as massive, or do you think it's a shorter, more condensed experience because it is coming from that portable
What's interesting,
foundation?
They have the whole concept of in Persona 5 you go and unlock different areas to fight in the palaces, where you're meeting new nemesis and you're understanding kind of how they're wreaking havoc in the real world, and then you are getting into their psyche and going in and fighting them in their like alternate world form. And this is very much more simplified, where when I go into the Tartarus and I'm going up the stairs, up the different levels, you're really just fighting the monsters. There's not a whole lot of theme to it yet. The original dungeon on the handheld version that I played looked like trash compared to the beautiful, like stylized version that they have. This remaster, everything looks so sharp and modernized, but it is kind of bare. So it kind of looks like in the first, I think the first like 30 floors or something that I've fought through so far, it looks like, Beetlejuice, like when the Beetlejuice movies where it's the spirit realm and then everything's kind of like twisted on its side, and it's just like warped and gothic, and it looks like that, which gives me a really cool like vibe. But the theming of the area where you're fighting, where it's just one location, you're just kind of always moving up, it's not very involved. There's not a whole lot of puzzles going on. There's not a whole lot of, because the palaces in Persona 5 were much more intricate. They were like heavily themed based on like who you're fighting and why, and that kind of ties in, whereas this is very much more basic. In the early game of Persona games, you don't have those deep connections because you build them up over hours of gameplay and conversation with your party and with the people that you meet in the game. So all of that's still to come, I think, is the falling in love with the characters.
Right.
But I do expect that I'll get there. I've already like made some pretty interesting characters. There's a really cool there's a stat boost as you make relationships with people in the real world, and one of the people you can interact with is someone that you meet online in an MMO. So it's like, do you want to play your MMO at your computer all day? And you log in and you're having a conversation with this girl, and she's just like, oh, I hate my job or whatever, and like talking to you and like just internet slang, and like I'm not sure like
That's
how old
funny.
this person is, but they're like, oh, I got so drunk last night. And like, you can ask them, be like, are you of age to drink? Or are you just like, like just learning more about this person. And they're an avatar in an MMO. So their chat box is like all digital, and like you don't know who they are. They're like obscure, and you're building a relationship with a friend within an MMO. And it's just a very interesting way of doing that. And I wanted to log on and spend more time to learn more about this person and figure out like, what's their deal? Like, what are they about? There's like an old couple that run a bookstore, and you start talking to them and learn about their life. And you're like, oh, this cute couple, like, I wonder why they're sad. And they start talking about their son who passed and like all this thing. And then you could go and talk to them more and more. There's a kid who's trying to start a relationship with a teacher. Like, in some of these Persona games, that's actually something that can happen, like, whereas it's like kind of frowned upon in the West, but apparently, like, you know, in good old like Japan or whatever, it's like, I guess you can do it if you want. I don't know, but it's a high school kid, and he's all like, yeah, man, he's like, I'm gonna score with this teacher or whatever, and he's like, and you can have dialogue choices, and you're like, yeah, you got this, man, go ahead, do it. And he's like, oh man, thanks. And like, he just goes and like keeps trying to put the moves on her and stuff, and it's just like wild. And you just develop these relationships with all these characters in the world, and it's just fun. The daytime stuff is fun, like the nighttime combat and using the personas and casting magic and exploiting weaknesses of enemies is fun. It's all fun, and it's great. It's a more Persona. So Persona 3 Reload is recommended. If you can do it on Game Pass, go for it.
That's awesome. I really liked, say, my time with Persona, I think what endeared me the most to that game was the like you said, the character building and just seeing all the different people in the world and walking through that Japan real life infrastructure and visiting all the shops and going to the mall and all, just like the little stuff, right? Like, I think they nailed that stuff so well. So I might have to check this out. I play
just to go through the menus. The menus bring me joy. They're so just hip and perfect. I just want to open the menus and close the menus. Like, it's so fantastic. It's that good. You if you love UI, fonts, color schemes, like anything about that, the classic Persona style, it's just dripping with it. Very, very cool.
The graphic designer's dream RPG. Oh, well, that sound means that this show has come to an end. It's the Caboose, where we give you a recommendation of something outside of the world of video games we think you might enjoy. I'm going to go first here because it's hot on my mind. It's front of mind. Right before I came down here, I pulled up the old YouTube, and there is a cover of one of your favorite songs, Antonio, by Jack Black and Tenacious D for the new Kung Fu Panda 4. The cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time. And there's a music video on YouTube right now.
Is there? They did a full music video, huh?
Pure joy. Oh, yeah. It is. You know, Jack Black is like one of those guys where you're like, he's just having a goof, right? He's just having a laugh. But if you really like sit back and listen, you're like, this fucker can sing. Like, he's got some real musician, talent. For sure. And of course, this is a great song. It's a great callback. And so to see Jack Black in his great big wild man beard running around in a white tuxedo singing Hit Me Baby One More Time. It's good shit. So you should check that out. I think you'll get a big hit out of it. We're on our way to go see Kung Fu Panda 4 in the theaters. We are big fans of that franchise in this house.
Really?
So we're excited for that movie, and this song really got us pumped for it.
Adam, you covering Hit Me Baby One More Time during the last Extra Life live stream, that will go down as one of my favorite memories in Megadad's history. It was definitely a highlight. Don't undersell yourself. Jack Black has some pipes, but you're no slouch.
What's in your caboose?
So I am gonna be a little basic about this, but I saw the first Dune, the remake, but Dune Part 1 just recently. Have you seen Dune?
I shit you not. I started it this afternoon. I've watched like an hour of it.
What do you think so far?
So I tried to watch it before with my whole family, and it's kind of like a slow build, right? It's a slow burn in that first hour, and my family just like they pieced out. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to watch this alone in order to really enjoy it. I think it's got a really cool aesthetic where it's like it feels 80s. I know they made this movie in the 80s, but like I love just kind of the way that this film feels a little more practical than a lot of sci-fi movies that you get these days. So I haven't finished it yet. I'm only an hour into it, but I'm digging it. What did you think?
I can't recommend it highly enough. Like, I thought that this wasn't a good movie. Like, I don't know if it's just the word of mouth never reached me, but like I felt like it came, it went, and it wasn't, it didn't make any waves. So people have described it like, like Star Wars for grown-ups. Like, people have lauded and like the amazing like literature it's like based on, so the original books. I thought it was great, and I hear that a lot, like, oh, it's a slow burn. But I guess there is some of that in the first part where it's like world building and like what's happening here and like who are these factions and why are they doing what they're doing. It unravels definitely like a mystery. We're like, okay, what's happening? But after that, it was very intense, like action at scene after action scene, or at least like high intensity after high intense like interactions and great performances. A lot of renowned actors and actresses in here, and I was blown away by it. I really didn't like that Timothy Chalamet, whatever his name is, like person. Like, I thought he was just like a wimp kid. I'm like, why is he in this sci-fi movie? I don't get it. But they play off of that. I think like everyone in the movie, like, who meets this kid is like, oh, this is a dweeb kid, like scrawny kid. Like, that's like the premise of the movie. And then it's like breaking the expectation. So it's great. It's a good time. I recommend it, and I'm dying to see part 2 in theaters. They say, see it in IMAX and stuff if you can, or Dolby. So that's what I plan on doing. So see Dune. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
I think that's hilarious that you just watched it and I literally just started it. And like, yeah. So
it's like getting new life for the part 2 now being in theaters. Right. Like, people going back and saying, oh, all right, I guess I should take a look at part 1.
I agree, and I'm gonna finish that up tonight, and then you and I can talk about it. We can chat about it, and we'll have like a mandate and go see the second one and text each other about that as well. Yay! Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of Mega Dads Live. Thank you so much for listening, for watching here on YouTube. If you're listening to this podcast, the regular podcast form, is get your ass over to the YouTube channel so that you can see our beautiful faces and look at the games that we're talking about. As we're talking about these games, we got all this fantastic footage that we've captured for you. So head over to youtube.com/megadads, subscribe, give the video a like, and see all the cool stuff that we're doing here in this, our 10th year of Mega Dads. Thank you so much. We will see you next Friday for an all-new episode of Mega Dads Live.